What's the coolest movie theme song on the bagpipes? The Gael from Last of the Mohicans. I just love it. My name's Alec from Get Bagpipe Ready. In these next 3 lessons, I'm going to teach you the prelude to the Gael, as well as the first little bit of the main theme of the tune. This first one is a good one. It's a fun song. If you want to check out the link for all the lessons on the Gael, just look at the description below the video. Okay, so let's get started with the Gael. So I'm going to I'll play through the whole prelude here so you have it in your head, and then we'll walk through it chunk by chunk in these 3 lessons. And on and on and on into the main theme. So that first part, the slow part, is what I call the prelude, and it's going to start on D. So if the chanter is completely new to you, you have your fingers on the front, minus your pinky of your top hand, which is your left hand. That makes the bottom hand the right hand. And then there's a thumb hole on the back top of the chanter for your left thumb. All the fingers and the thumb on the back on the holes is our low A position. If we lift the 3 fingers up, minus the pinky finger stays down, on the bottom hand, there's our D. That's our starting note. So our starting note's a D. If you're doing grace notes, if you're working on embellishments, you can do a G grace note on that D by lifting the top finger up and then down. And the bottom hand remains the same. So that would be a G grace note on the D. And that's what I would call, there's easy grace notes and hard grace notes. That's an easy grace note because we're not moving anywhere. We're staying on the same note as we do the grace note. So if you want to start in on some grace notes, that's a good one to put in. So our next 2 notes, we're just walking down the scale. If the scale's new to you, we're dropping down 1 finger of the bottom hand to C. So we have 2 fingers up for that C note. And then we're going from C to B. So we're dropping 1 more finger, but at the same time we're lifting up that pinky, and that's our B note right there. So that's the first 3 notes of the tune. And it can be worth just pausing, repeating that little bit here to get used to it. If you're comfortable with that, let's move on. So this is kind of nice because it just is kind of the reverse image or the mirror image of what we just did. So we just did that grace note on the D, walk down 1 note, walk down 2 notes. Remember to lift that pinky on the B. And then we're just going to do another, what I call an easy grace note because we're not moving anywhere. An easy grace note on that B. So that easy G grace note on the B, top finger up and down. And then we're going to walk up 2 notes. So this time we're just doing the reverse. We're going to bring that pinky down, lift 1 finger up. So we have 2 middle fingers up on the bottom hand. That's our C. And then we're going to lift that top finger up back to D. So that's the second bit of this first sequence. So let's put that all together. Time's up. No, just joking. Okay, so let's put that all together from the beginning here. And that little sequence, we're going to tack on a little bit more in this lesson, but let's just pause and repeat that a couple times. So go ahead, pause the video, take that away, practice it till you get it nice and smooth. If you want to add in those grace notes, they're easy grace notes because we're not transitioning anywhere. If you don't want the grace notes in, it'll sound like this. So it's up to you. I prefer the grace notes. Because again, those are easy grace notes. They're not transitioning. They may not feel easy, but easy is relative to the hard grace notes where we do jump between notes during that grace note. So easy is relative. So go away, practice that, and when you're ready, come back. And now we're going to tack on this last little bit of lesson 1. So we're just tacking on 2 notes to what we've already done. So what we've already done, we've ended on the D. So here we are sitting on that D, 3 fingers up on the bottom hand, pinkies down, top hand, the thumb and all fingers have stayed on their holes at this point. Everything has been bottom hand action. So we're on the D. From the D, we're going to drop down to the C. So we drop 1 finger down to the C. So we're dropping down to the C, but we're not hanging out there very long. So we're on the C, and then almost pretty quickly we're going to hop up to the E. So this is our first time we've transitioned from bottom hand to top hand. So this is where learning the chanter gets tricky, especially if this is new to you. So 2 fingers are going to drop down on the chanter, these 2 middle fingers of the bottom hand. At the same time, you're going to lift the pinky of the bottom hand. And at the same time, 3 things are happening here. You're going to lift the ring finger of the top hand. So that's our transition from C to E. If transitions are new to you, this is definitely a place where you're going to want to pause and work on that. And you can just work on back and forth with those movements. When you're starting out, it's normal to get all these crossing noises and funny sounds. It's normal to not sound like a nice smooth ambulance. we want just yet. But you'll get there. The only way your fingers are going to learn is by some repetition. So work on that a little bit each and every day, those transitions. Okay, so those are the last 2 notes of this lesson. And there's 1 tricky grace note. I call it tricky grace note because we're transitioning. If you may not want to worry about this grace note, but I'll give it to you for those who are working on grace notes. So again, that first little sequence, we've ended on the D. We're going to do our G grace note down to that C, and then pop up from the C to E, which we just kind of went through here. So we're on the D. So we have a G grace note, so that G grace note finger, top finger of the top hand has to lift, and then it comes down right after we bring down the top finger of the bottom hand. So that's the tricky grace note, because we're moving from the D to the C. At the same time, we're getting there with that G grace note. So that's a tricky one. You can totally drop it if grace notes are new to you, but if you've been working on them for a while, give it a shot. Put in some repetition. And then from that C, again, we just pop up to the E. So let me play the whole sequence for you here a few times just to have in your head. And that's the end of lesson 1. Again, before I jump in through just playing the whole this whole lesson 1 section, if you want to check out the link to all the lessons of the Gael of my tune workshop, just click on the video description below, and that'll take you there. And as well, I got the sheet music there for you too. So definitely check that out. It's all just in one spot. Less YouTube distractions, and you can get in more practicing. So yeah, here's what we got so far in lesson 1. And again. So go ahead, go away, work on that. Click on the link below to get all the lessons in one convenient location. And until next time, happy piping.